everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. I wasn't originally going to do this sit down video, but then I've had a lot of thoughts throughout the week, especially with all the conversation around Sinners, that I wanted to sit down and have this discussion. So for one, I am seeing a lot of bandwagoning, and it's very interesting to me because I remember when we first heard about Sinners, we didn't know anything about it. A lot of people were excited because they just heard like black vampires, and then when we got more information about it, a lot of people were like, oh well, I'm not as excited anymore, it's the same old black trauma stories. And even in the weeks leading up to the movie premiere, a lot of people were trying to paint it as a black trauma story that was more in the same vein of what we'd seen over and over again. And in actuality, there's really not a lot of black trauma films that we get each year. People really do overinflate the types of movies we get. Like, I always see people say, I'm so tired of slave films. You would think we get a slave film every month. We get one like every few years. And on top of that, when I first heard about what Sinners was about, I immediately thought about Ringshout by P. Djeli Clark, and I'm like, oh, that's something that I really want to see because I've been advocating for this story to be adapted. It was optioned, and stories like Bitterroot and other ones within the same vein. So Ringshout right now is having a resurgence in the book community as people look for books that are similar to Sinners, and I'm grateful. If you do pick it up, I hope you enjoy it. It is definitely a fave that has stuck with me. One book that I have been pushing a lot that I finally received my art copy of is Blood Slaves by Marcus Min. So this is like black vampire slave revolt. I'm down for this one. I've talked about it over and over again. I will be reading it soon, hopefully, and I'll be able to give you guys all my thoughts. But this is one that I really hope does start a conversation, and I know some of the content in here is going to be difficult to read, but we need to not be afraid to like actually consume this type of media. Like, as much as we talk about fantasy being for escapism, as we see in this current political climate, they are trying to erase the past right before our eyes. So I'm seeing all these different book recommendation lists from people talking about read this if you like Sinners. A lot of people are just going for the black vampire books. None of them have anything to do with what Sinners was talking about, but it's black vampires. And I'm like, if you actually saw the movie, you realize it's just not like necessarily just like a black vampire movie. There was a larger conversation that it's trying to have, and at the end of the day, Ryan Coogler said this was really a love letter to his uncle who grew up in Mississippi and loved the blues and passed along the blues to him. And that part really touched me because my father loved music so much. Like, he had records and CDs, and even though I'm not like a big music person like he was, when I hear like older black music, it reminds me so much of him, and I even get emotional sometimes just thinking about it. And so I appreciated the love that Ryan was trying to showcase for black music through the film. It also made me think of Bart Blues by Cherie Renee Thomas. So I have not finished this one yet. It's one that I've been picking up on and off. It is a short story collection. I think if you like the blues and you like black SFF, this one is worth checking out. What I've read so far of it has been pretty good. And I've had a lot of conversations over the past few years with black Southern authors and getting their stories out there and some of the criticisms that they face, because I find that when it comes to black media, we are very much into a certain image. Like, a lot of the stories that publishing has focused on has been stories that teach white people that black people are human and deserve respect. So we've gotten so many books that have just been about being the one black person in an all-white space. So seeing more stories just where we're not the only one, where we get to celebrate our community, has been very significant. And so I plan on reading Bones at the Crossroads later this year. This one is by Ladarian Williams, and it wasn't lost on me that last year there was a lot of controversy surrounding Blood at the Root in the online book community. And people saying, oh, it's not authentic, Black people don't talk like that, it's too country, it's too this, it's too that. But then they were praising Sinners for the same things, like the same way that Ryan Coogler in the film ties the past and the present together was something that Ladarian Williams also did in Blood at the Root. I assume he's going to continue in Bones at the Crossroads. So I will give you guys my opinion on that when I get to it. Shay and I are hoping to be able to read it together and do another live discussion in the future. I was also thinking about Black land ownership. Last month I had read Bria Baker's Rooted. If you have not read it, you definitely need to check it out. I will link it in the description box down below. But that just had so many stories about Black land ownership in the South, particularly from states we don't always hear people discuss. And there's been a big conversation about Black farming that's been happening in the past few years, especially with people getting grants to go move down south and start up farms. And last year when I saw Peaches by Kim Holt, I loved that this is a Black family that owns a peach orchard, because a few years ago I was talking to a Black author who's also from the South, and I remember we were just talking about our childhood, and I said I grew up going to the orchard during various seasons like spring, summer, fall, and like picking my own fruits. I've been peach picking before. And she said that her mom never took them to like any kind of farm or orchard or whatever, because picking fruit as a Black person was akin to slavery. And that's the first time that I had heard it. And then I remember watching a PBS special shortly after about Black urban farming and hearing somebody express that sentiment again and trying to change the ideals around that. And for me, again, it was like something so far removed from what I heard, because my mom grew up outside of the US. So where she grew up in the Caribbean countryside, she had a lot of land and they grew a lot of fruit. They had cane, they had bananas, they raised chickens, they raised pigs. So farm life was something that was very familiar to them, even though they weren't calling it farm life. And she used to take us to the farms around here, because in Pennsylvania, depending on where you are, there can be a lot of farms. There's not so many farms around here like there were before, because, you know, things happen, farms shut down, the government takes land for development, whatever. And it used to actually be cheaper during certain seasons to go and pay and pick fruit versus buying it from the grocery store. Now it's like a lot more expensive, but I still like to go for the experience. And so seeing a Black family who own an orchard, like, I don't even think kids will pick up peaches and understand the significance of that, but we do need to put that imagery forward, because a lot of times what we showcase in Black picture books is kind of the same stuff over and over again, and there's just such a wide variety of stories that need to be told. I also was thinking about brooms recently. Like, this was one that I really enjoyed. This one is also set in 1930s Mississippi with Black and Indigenous characters who are witches, and they are doing these like underground broom races. So this is another great one worth checking out. I really do hope that when people are thinking about Sinners and they're talking about being inspired, that they do kind of take away some of the themes that he was talking about in the film. Is some of the people that I've seen say, oh, I was so inspired, like, but you've written stuff that is the exact opposite of what we were talking about in the film. Like, I know publishing puts a lot of pressure on people to write certain stories, and you really do have to stand your ground. And a lot of people are willing to cave. They're willing to redeem that racist white character if it means they get to secure a book deal. They're willing to kind of like tamper down on the more like cultural aspects of their main character to make them more palatable to white editors and potential white readers. And I really want to see my Black Southern authors to be able to push their stories forward without having so much pushback. Like, we were talking before about seeing more books come out of Memphis, because I really can't name too many off the top of my head, and there's just such a rich history there that can be explored, from historical stories to present day stories. And like, there's just a different kind of Black people there. Like, if you know, you know, if you've ever encountered anybody from Memphis. And so I would love to see more of that at the forefront of traditional publishing. I find that a lot of the stories that I have read by Black Southern authors, they often do tie in the past with the present, and how it like really affects how they navigate the present day, because a lot of Black people in the South, they still live in these very Black communities, and at the end of the day, the majority of Black people in the US still to this day live in the South. So we need to put respect on them, and we need to support Black farmers when we can. I saw some interesting conversations about like people living on former plantation land that have been going around threads, and the truth is a lot of the land down south is former plantation land. So I can't fault anybody for living on that land as a Black person. Like, most of the time you have no choice, but also that is land that was like supposed to be their ancestors. So I actually love seeing those videos where it's like Black people who are like, I bought the former plantation that my family lived on and bled on, and now I get to repurpose it and open up a farm or open up a bed and breakfast or do something with it. I'm like, that's literally the dream. That's that 40 acres and a mule that their ancestors wanted. So we need to shout that out more. And I know I am very excited for Blood Slaves by Marcus Redmond. My arc has finally arrived, and I can't wait to read this one. I know it's going to be painful at some parts because of the history that it's diving into. This is like Black slave rebellion fantasy. I know it's going to be dark. I know there's going to be a lot that makes me uncomfortable, but I am super excited about it. If you have not pre-ordered this one, I recommend checking it out. I'm hearing a lot of early praise for it, which is great. And when I see people like talking about, oh, we need to like hop on like making as much content as we can about sinners, like, go ahead and make your content. I would just like to say I want to see more people center Black Southern authors when it comes to recommending books, because now I'm starting to see like non-Black books get like trickled into people's recommendation lists, and I'm just like, that kind of defeats the purpose of the movie in a way, because we were like, at the end of the day, the movie was about centering Black storytelling and the importance of being able to live to tell your story and your truth in your own way. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!